This is a 2005 Trailblazer with a 4.2. The customer brought this to me because it's basically going into limp mode. He drives it and it just, boom, goes right into limp mode. I'm in the car now. I'm scanning, trying to figure out what codes we have. I look over in the driver's seat or in the passenger seat and I see a bunch of parts, a throttle body, a throttle pedal, just your typical stuff people try to change to figure out what's going on instead of actually scanning it and doing a proper diagnosis. But you know, sometimes this stuff is kind of hard to figure out. Even I have trouble figuring out what it is. Here I'm looking at the code that's giving us a problem. It's a P060 throttle position system performance. So immediately at this point, I know that this will, from experience, I know that this will cause a limp mode condition. Looking at the rest of the codes to see what we have. I think I'm erasing the codes here and I'm seeing what will come back immediately, meaning it's a hard fault. It looks like I'm pulling up some throttle actuator data right here. I'm trying to see if I can just turn the key on and move the throttle blade with the gas pedal to just know if we have basic operation of the throttle. This is the throttle position desired and the actual throttle indicated. This is a very powerful tool, so these should match each other, and if you watch them closely, they actually don't match, and that's a problem. You want the desired to match with the actual, because the desired is what the computer wants to see according to the actual degree that it's at. And you can see it just dropped out completely on the left screen. So that would definitely cause our issue. I take a snapshot of it just to have it saved, and you can see that the code come right back. So this is the one I'll hone in on. Here you can see that it's in limp mode with the check engine light with the lightning bolt or in the middle of it. The car's in limp mode now. And there's the code again. I'm just checking to make sure. Right here I'm just doing a inspection of the throttle body. I can see it has another throttle body on it. It looks like a new one actually, so I'm really trying to figure out if the wires and the connectors are intact, if everything looks okay. I have seen it that there's loose pins causing this, so I'm kind of perplexed at this issue. I'm wondering, I thought it was a bad throttle body, but it looks to me like the throttle body's been changed, so I kind of want to be really careful here. I'm just trying to fish for answers at this point. I was a little concerned about this key and ignition malfunction code. I'm looking into that right now. I'm checking all the key circuits. I kind of go off on a little rabbit trail here. I'm looking at the ignition voltages. I did have a code in there that said something about an ignition voltage. So my thought process was this throttle body was losing its memory. Like I said, I'm just trying to be extra careful, and I think I cycle the ignition on and off while I'm watching the three different ignition voltages. You should, basically it's pretty simple. You should have, ignition 1, 2, and 3. There's 3 different ignition settings on the key, on the tumbler when you put your key in. So that's all I'm doing here. I'm just making sure they all work. I did have a code in the BCM stating there was a problem here, but this actually took up about 20 minutes of my time. But I'm just trying, like I said, I'm trying to be diligent, making sure. I thought that it was losing its memory, because these throttle bodies do have to be learned, and I thought it was related to this code, but obviously I was wrong about that, because everything seems to be working as it should. All the ignition voltages were there. I'm cycling the key here, making them change, and everything's working. I really don't know why that code was even in the computer. It must have picked up another fault at a earlier time. So, but everything looks fine as far as the ignition. So at this point, I don't think there's anything at all wrong with the ignition. I go back to the throttle body and back to the original code we were looking at, because I am for sure this is throttle body related. I didn't spend too much time on the key switch, but I did want to check it out just to make sure we don't. You have to be so careful in this field. If you overlook one thing, it can cost you so much time. It's happened to me so many times. Just being extra careful is really important, and it's kind of hard, because if you're extra careful, you can go down a rabbit hole, which will cost you so much more time. So that's just when experience comes in. I've been doing this professionally for 10 years, and learned a lot over that 10-year period, and I'm still learning every day. You can ask some of the 20, 30-year veteran technicians. They know how to skip over things so quick, but the best methods is to be careful and be diligent, and that's what makes a good technician. So anyway, I'm looking at everything here. I don't really see a whole lot. I mean, it's a new throttle body, but I don't know what kind of throttle body this is. I'm getting a little suspicious. What I'm doing here is taking off the old throttle body, and I decided to put on the throttle body that I seen in the passenger seat. It looks like the original one. I'm trying to figure out why this one was changed, so I'm going to basically put this one back on and retest, do the same procedure I did on the one that was on it when it came in the shop. I'll speed this up into fast forward motion, because it's basically the same thing as taking it off. And if you all wanted to slow it down on YouTube, there is a function on YouTube that will let you put it in slower motion if you're doing this job and you want to just see step by step. I know I like doing that sometimes, but I'm just putting on the original throttle body, and we are going to basically just retest. So I'm back in the car now. I'm starting it up. I do have the recorder going a little bit faster, and because I'm basically just doing the exact same test we did earlier in the video. This is several codes where I had the throttle body unplugged with the key on. Anytime you unplug a sensor with the key on, it will cause several codes, but there's one code that keeps coming back. It's a performance code. There it is, P2119, throttle closed position performance. So now I get out of the vehicle and I'm looking, I actually set the camera down, and I go in and actuate the throttle. No, I think I'm doing it from the scan tool right here. I'm just out of the shot. You can't see my fingers, but there's a way to control it. And it acts like this throttle body is binding up. I'm looking at that now, and I'm starting to think, well, now this throttle body, which is the original, doesn't seem to be acting right. So at this point, I decide to just take the throttle body back off, and I determine that we have ourselves two bad throttle bodies. As you can hear in this clip, you can shake this original throttle body and it sounds like a bunch of parts are rattling around in it. So we definitely, the original is a piece of junk, or it is broken. So after making that determination, I get a Hitachi throttle body. These are very good throttle bodies, very well made. A lot of the actual manufacturers use Hitachi. I would highly recommend anytime you replace a throttle body that you use a good brand name. Hitachi, AC Delco, Delphi, Bosch. Those are the only ones I would ever use, because you're dealing with a throttle actuator, and I don't think you would want that throttle actuator to mess up, although the cars do have a lot of safety mechanisms. As you can see, if it sees a fault, it will put it in limp mode so you don't fly over the hill. Here I'm just putting on the new throttle body. No big deal, just 4 screws. Plug up a connector and put all your breather hoses back together. And here we are. I'm getting in the car and I'm starting it up. I basically test everything out, rev it up. Before, I couldn't even give it the throttle and it'd go right into limp mode, right in it detected. I couldn't even pull out of the drive. And everything is working great, guys. This is a great lesson. Just because someone changes a part doesn't mean it's a good part. These aftermarket parts today are junk. Do not trust them. Always put on good parts and you won't be guessing. But I appreciate you guys watching, and check out some of my other videos, like or subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Have a great day.